prolific writer and speaker, Paul Robinson. Now, Paul Robinson from Bangalore. Now he will address.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Interfaith Harmony today. When it comes to the subject, my teacher is actually Swami Vivekananda. Way back in school, I have studied the Chicago Address, and 3 words stuck with me: bigotry, fanaticism, and sectarianism. 3 things we should avoid. And the 4th word that was very important to actually solve the problem was to assimilate. Then came an interesting story which he talked about the frog in the well. The frog is still in the well, actually. And my challenge today is to actually talk about how to really take this frog out of the well. How to take this frog out of the well. Now, you know what? That is a perspective talking, right? We talk about. So the problem with today's humanity, the problem with most of the things is that we are too zoomed in. And we seldom zoom out. We are too zoomed in. We are so egocentric. First it comes to about me, then it's about my family, then it comes to my community, my people, and we seldom zoom out. And the reality is that you can see a larger picture. The only way we can take the frog out of the well is to zoom out. So I'm going to take one mustard seed, and I'm going to keep it here. Anybody can see this? Nobody can see that, right? You can see it only if you zoom in. And imagine it's a mustard seed, and imagine it's earth. When was the last time we think as a humanity that we are one? To get that feeling that we are one, I think we need to really zoom out, and we have to have that kind of a satellite picture that the earth is one. The problem is that we are so zoomed in, it's like the bacteria inside this, probably around the mustard seed, having a fight together, having an argument together. There are a million things bigger than all that what we see. There are planets that's bigger than ours. The universe is so big. So let's zoom out, and that's a perspective that I want to talk about today. So the mindset that we need, in fact, there's a beautiful book written by Carol Beck. It's called Mindset, and they said there are 2 types of people. People with fixed mindset, and there are people with open mindset. The people with a fixed mindset thinks everything is fixed. We cannot learn anything new. It's all fixed. But people with the open mindset, they're open to new information, new knowledge. They're open to change. And that's the mindset that we need today to really have this dialogue going on. Let's have that open mindset. Let's open up. When the glass is empty, we can pour more. When the glass is full, we can't. So we cannot look at the religious differences and observe them and, look at the words like toleration, and that's not going to solve the problem. We must keep an open mindset to accept and absorb and assimilate what every religion has to offer. We need to really zoom out and see the big picture. So forget about comparisons and contrasts between religions. We can only understand each other by understanding. That means listening. That means requires a lot of respect. That's a lot of compassion, openness, and a lot of curiosity to get to know from each other. Now, our interpretation of God may differ from religion to religion. We have invented a lot of adjectives to describe this thing that we are trying to understand for so many generations and centuries. We call God is almighty, all-powerful, it's kind, gracious, loving. Sometimes it's God-fearing. For some, it could be the combination of both. So we can't understand religion with information. That's what we've been trying to do. We have to understand this thing through consciousness. So the fact is that every religion is a manifestation of the divine. And the human understanding, what we have been absorbed all the while, has been an interpretation of that experience. So every religion is like a path. And this path differs from people to people, religion to religion, sects to sects. But all leads to one, a spiritual union, where we call it consciousness of being with the one. So what we need to, how do we get there to reach that path? We need to walk forward. But very fundamentally, sometimes we walk backward. But we need to walk forward. So we can't understand God through information. We need to understand it through pure consciousness, which means knowing religion and religious difference is just about information. But living in religious harmony, in that consciousness, that's more important. So how do we cultivate this consciousness? How do we do this? The first thing is zoom out. Have a universal perspective. Because zooming out is expansion. Expansion is love. Love is expansion. Accommodate everything. Accommodate the differences through acceptance. Because in the consciousness, we can see the larger connection between different dimensions, different religions, different teachings. And that really takes us to really focus on what's all this, how it can all make sense, how we can connect the dots together. So how do we achieve the religious harmony? How do we do that? So that's the question. How do you really take the frog out of the well? Number one thing that I see this every day is do not fall for propaganda. There's a lot of propaganda out there that promotes religious hatred and prejudices among different religions. Propaganda. Biased information sold every day through mass media, and especially the mainstream media that keeps lying to us in most cases. Imagine the mass media is actually creating what is called the mass consciousness, how everyone should think. Imagine television programming, the programs that we get to see is all about programming. There's too much of drama that has been sold every day to us. So I personally do not watch television. So there's this manipulated information and biased opinions that are fabricated to create just to benefit the few. So used as a tool to control human beings. And the fact is that I have understood with my research, which I've really gone deep into, is that no religion in this world promotes any kind of terrorism. That's a fact. No religion in this world promotes any kind of terrorism. And people who think they are terrorists, they are not religious people. People don't fight each other for the name of God. People fight for political reasons. People fight for political reasons because there is an economical reason that's behind those political reasons. Nobody fights in the name of religion, and no religion promotes terrorism. So we got to keep the propaganda away, and we got to really, really assimilate the goodness that is every religion has to offer. The thing is that where did this idea come from? You know, how this has all been manipulated? Because this is a very interesting thing. Because social cohesion is not possible without an enemy image. Throughout the world, the way we want to create the unity, it has to be us and there has to be they. There has to be them and then us. So trying to create the unity between people, we create enemy image. Because when you create an enemy image, it's easier to create the unity between people. Because it's us and it's them. That's the way the human nature, the humans have been trying to create a community. Now that has to change. Social cohesion is possible if we all can respect each other and not tolerate, but accept. Because you can just tolerate people. You know, I know you're different. I'm just tolerating you. I just have to tolerate you. That's not the way. I accept you as who you are, and your path is different from mine, but all will lead to the same. So our fight must be against the ignorance of people, and we must win this fight through understanding and not through arguments. So we should not argue with people who are strongly opinionated to showcase their hatred towards any religion or community. Next time you get into any comment, stay away from arguments. It's not about proving what is right or who is right. It is to accept the fact that we are too small as individuals and even as species to merely understand the vastness of the mysterious that surrounds the divine intelligence that we have been trying to decode and understand and comprehend for thousands of years in a planet which is actually more than 4.5 billion years old. So our greatest wisdom should be to possess the fact that the knowledge that we have is too little. In fact, Socrates was called as the first Western philosopher. Socrates was called as the most wisest man in Greece by the Oracle of Delphi for a fact that Socrates was the only person who accepted the fact that he knew too little. In fact, he never written books, never preached much philosophy. He could always talk to his disciples, and people who think they know too much, when they come to him and spend some time with Socrates, they realize the fact that they know too little. So that's the part we need to understand. We know too little. Number two, the solution to creating this interfaith harmony is that I understand we need to celebrate diversity. We need to celebrate diversity. Imagine that if we all sit here with the same color of clothes, it's so boring. We need to celebrate the colors of life, the flowers of life. That's where the beauty comes from. So celebrate diversity. Luckily, we have our country, which is very vast in its diversity. We have diversity of culture, religion, people, sex, caste, gender. On many levels, we are diverse. Let's celebrate that every day. How do we do that? Make friends. Make friends, people with other religions, so that we can celebrate the colors of life, the festivals of life, the celebrity of life, so that we get a lot of different perspectives. And those perspectives will help us to have a deeper understanding about what we want to understand for so many years. So accept and absorb the goodness in every religion, in everything that has to offer, because every religion has philosophies, values, and morals, and good stories that can really enlighten us to broaden our horizon. Because every religion, so Christianity has love and forgiveness. Hinduism, we have karma and we have dharma. Buddhism teaches us about compassion. The Islam teaches us about brotherhood. And everybody has something to offer. And you can keep an open mind. And study other religions' books. Go, study. Be a little curious about that. Because I believe every religion, every religious teachings today is like a giant jigsaw. It's a part of a big existential puzzle. Sometimes who we are, what are we doing here? What is our purpose? What are we here for? Sometimes that's a big question, isn't it? But sometimes we can solve this puzzle by taking some more the point of view from multiple religions and then try to connect the dots. Are we here? Are we the observers that we thought of? Without an observer, the universe does not exist. So are we the observers, or are we the observed ones? For me, my journey, I look at it this way. If you have to really look at a spiritual journey, I have a philosophy for it. It's a know yourself and have no self. Know self, K-N-O-W, know yourself. Zoom in, you study who you are, and zoom out, and there is no self. That's the journey that we probably will take us to that spiritual path. The third point that I want to talk about is a very interesting point, a very important point, that is something that has changed my life. It is actually from one of my teachers, Jim Rohn. He said, he's given a valuable lesson in life. He said, don't be a follower, be a student. It's a huge difference. Don't be a follower, be a student. Because when you follow, you get just one point of view. If you follow one school of thought, that's it. That's exclusive. That's all what it is. But a student gets multiple point of view, different perspectives. It knows both sides of the coin. It gets the thesis, the antithesis, the synthesis. It gets, so you can absorb more. It's not like serving too many masters. It means that learn from different teachers. So don't be a follower, be a student. So what it is that we need to do? What's our action list is going to be like? Okay. When we meet people from different religion, what is that I can learn from you? What is that I can argue with you? What is that we can agree not to argue upon? What is that we can learn from each other? And how do we do that? I have made friends from all the religions, so I have friends from all the religion possible. Make friends. One of the things that we could do is that if you don't have friends from certain religions, backgrounds, make friends with those people and don't discuss religion. But make friends. Join them in their festivals. Celebrate the diversity of life. Because an ideal society is actually a peaceful society. An ideal person is actually a happy person. An ideal person is a happy person. Ideal society is a peaceful society. But a religious unity can have the power actually to shape both these realities. So how do we do that? Zoom out as much as, and so we feel the oneness with the universe. And that's actually the kind of a recipe for spiritual enlightenment, religious harmony, and even for world peace. So I thought this bumper sticker once, on a car, and it says, I got nothing against your God, but I can't stand your fans. I can stand the fan club. I have nothing against God, but it is the fan club that I cannot stand. And I think it should not be about just creating more fan clubs. When Swami Vivekananda gave a speech in way back in 1893, there was only 1.7 billion people. today we have 7.3 billion people. We have more complex situation than ever before. So why don't we create a fan club? Why don't we join that fan club that actually talks about humanity above all else? Why don't we be part of that fan club where humanity is more important than everything else? So with that, I conclude my dialogue here, and thank you for being a good listener.